All right. I'm live. Here I am. What's up, Byron? Where you at, Byron? How you doing? So, anyway, I'm going to keep it a little bit short and sweet. We've been working wild and crazy over here. We have so much work to do. It's fucking awesome. I super appreciate all of my crazy customers, people buying so much of our products and our services. It's fucking great. We're working really hard to provide that premium service. So, I do need to keep things a little bit short. I'm not sure where Steve and Memphis are. I'm sure Steve is probably out on a golf course working, and Memphis is likely not paying attention to what's going on and building things because it'd be like that sometimes. Um, but yeah, I thought we would talk a little bit about little subwoofers because it's been a subject for the last week or so in our email because of the Sundown Z8 that they're releasing. We have had probably a few a day people interested. Some of them like, hey, are you going to make anything specific? Some of them are like, hey, how many do you think you could fit in a truck? And some people are like, can you fit those in our 4/8 box? And it's like, dude, that's a super oversized 8. It's not realistic to do 4 of those with like an extra big seat lift. You could do like 3. If a really ridiculous, like unusable back seat, we could fit 4. And having to explain that, like, Jesus, it's like really big. I'm like, it is really big for an 8. But it's a monster, super badass woofer. I'm really excited about it. I want to get my hands on one and do a little testing, and I want to, make a specific box for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I definitely have all the pertinent information I need to develop the product, but I like to test everything before I release it. Um, but it should be a really fantastic uh, performing unit. And if I might make some vehicle specific, some of the truck box versions of that for those woofers. Maybe a 2/8, maybe a 3. I doubt we'll do a 4. It's just not realistic for the amount of volume those woofers need, the amount of port area necessary for them as well. But yeah, super fun. And then other really awesome high performance little woofers. The kicker, the kicker Solo X8. It'll actually be in a pretty similar size box, uh, pretty decent size, like 1 cubic foot. Actually, look up what they have recommended. What the hell did you say, Memphis? Memphis said, "Yeah, I'm slammed being back." What? What? Anyway, he sent me a message in our little quietly loud chat. It didn't exactly make sense. So, yeah. So, anyway, yeah, let me take a look at that kicker. The kicker Solo X8. Solo X8. And see what exactly. I'm pretty confident it was 1 cubic foot that they wanted with that guy. Mm-mm-mm. So as small as 0.88, but that's pretty awesome. So in the just a touch smaller than the Sundown Z8. Um, Probably should do a little box for that. I could very reasonably fit 3 of those in the Ford or Chevy trucks. That'd be pretty awesome with that. The Sundowns would be a little bit of a squeeze. Um, but yeah, it'd be pretty awesome. Um, but you kind of reach a point where you get like, well, you could fit 4 regular 8s, or maybe you could even fit 3 actual 10s, not oversized 10s, but like actual, like you get like uh, it's a balance, right? Does a pretty much a 9-inch woofer have a fit? It does. It absolutely does. So yeah, um, squeezing in the Z8 or like the DD 2508 is also a extra oversized. It's like a 9. I think it measures like 9 and 9/16 of an inch. Anderson saying. It's like almost 10, and it needs a box. It's like, hey, it's like 1 to 1.5 cubic feet, and you're like, okay, well, okay, like, but sometimes if it's just right, it's the right thing, and it can be awesome. So we did a Ford with a 5-inch seat lift with 4 of those in it, and I guess that performed pretty well. But he was a little underpowered. He had like a JP53 on it, and that was a little less power than he probably should have had on that. It was wired to 1 ohm, and it was doing well. But my buddy that did the install for him was like, dude, I have your 8s, and it kicked the shit out of. I'm like, yeah, but you have a 7100 wired at a 0.5 ohm, and you have lithium, so it's like you're cheating. So he cheated. He had big subs in a bigger box, and you cheated. You had a big ass amp and lithium. So, love to know. I was like, take that box and throw it in your truck and tell me what that does. And so, so yeah, that is not an appropriate story for me to tell ever, Steve Santos. Not gonna do it. Can't feed me enough whiskey to tell that story in public. Nope. So it's a long, long time ago. But anyway, I was drunk. No. Yeah. So little subs and little places and what works. Yeah. It's kind of, car audio is one of those things where if it's really like 9.5, almost 10, they call it 8, which is weird because, I'm like, nah, man, 6 and 11 30 seconds of an inch. So anyway, yeah, and then like DD also makes a what is the 1506, which is like it's like 7 7/8 of an inch or something maximum. I might have that a little bit wrong, but it's and the box it wants to be 0.75 cubic feet. Don't be really much less than that. And it's like, well, that's a fucking 8 now. Like we should. And I've like 3 times been like, you could just use our 4/8 box and we'll just cut the hole to fit those 1506s, and that'll actually perform very well. I'm like, oh, well, they're 6.5s. Like, they're not. Like, go look at the measurements and then compare them to other 6.5s. Like, why do they call it 6.5? Well, it's weird to say here's a 7. We make a 7. It's one of those things. So it makes sense. I guess I catch the brunt of it with regards to customers that didn't track that and didn't understand that, right? I mean, you look at the picture and it's like, it's a monster 8, and you put it next to a regular 8 and you're all, it's quite a bit larger around when you look at, like the DD, and you look at the the Z8. And they're fucking badass subs. We I tested the 2508 a few different occasions, and it's a fun woofer. It works really well. But I can almost fit 2 of our like relentless 8s where I can fit 1 of those. It's like a real close one, So if we're squeezing in a 2508 to put 3 of them, well then I can easily do 4 of our relentless 8s, and if that physically fits within reason, then I'm gonna have more. But yeah. And then there's some companies like Scar, and I know you guys know I'm not a big fan of most of the Scar stuff, but like the what is it, the ZVX8. Now I know they've changed their like recommended box parameters around like 3 times, but for years it said the recommended box they wanted 1.25 cubic feet, and I'm like, okay, well, that's a gigantic box for an 8. It's like massive, there's 12-inch subs, like a DC audio level 2 will work well in 1.2 cubic feet. That's a 12, right? And it's like, well, I mean, we're gonna probably be a lot better off with that 12 in that 1.2 than we are with that that's a real 8, right? So it's something to be aware of, is how much space do you have to work with, even on big subs. Some 12-inch subs want to be in 2 3/4 foot of air, like, and most of the sundowns do well, even also small. But some subs, I think it was like a DB drive, didn't perform super well in about 2 cubic feet of air, but it did pretty decent in like a 3 cubic foot box. And that was a 12-inch sub. It's kind of a monster. And the sub did pretty well when it was in that recommended box, which was like 2 3/4 after displacements. So it was like, that's pretty good. I don't hate that. That's pretty awesome. But the box was enormous, and we were putting it in a customer's boat, and the space he had was like kind of limited, and so that big ass box that he had to have was less awesome in that space than what we wanted. And he just had to kind of make that compromise because he already had the sub, and he got his kind of heart set on keeping it. And but it was like, geez, like with something else, I could have used like a B2, or even some of the sundowns that actually, they spec out at 2.5 cubic feet of air. A Nightshade, a Z, or an X, especially an X, will work extremely well down to 2 cubic feet, maybe even a little bit under. I've put 2Xs in 3.25 cubic feet with fantastic performance. Now, obviously, it'd be a little bit better in like our 5.5 box. I'm like shaking that shit out of the fucking table. It'd be a little bit better in the 5.5 box that was developed specifically for those big sundowns, but it was still very, very good in that box that fit into that customer's car. And no reason to make any change in woofer. And you're like, yeah, and it'd be better but no, it was fucking really good. So the you kind of learn what subs are super versatile and what ones are not. Like my Relentless series subs are kind of versatile. Like, guys have put them in bigger boxes, but I think they get a little sloppy. If you put a Relentless 8 in 1 cubic foot, it's going to be a little sloppier than I like it to be. If you're on low power, you'll get some efficiency, and it'll boom and it'll work pretty well. But I think it'd be probably better on the same power at 0.75, and you could squeeze them suckers down to like 0.5. And if you have a whole bunch of them with all the coupling, you can even get a little under that. You can have like 0.45 per 8 if you have 4 or 5 or 6 of them in the same box, which we've done it and we've tested it with fantastic results. So something to consider that people don't think about as often as they should. They're just like, I want those subs and I'm going to do it. Here I go. And I bought it. And then they're like, oh, this shit won't fit. And you're like, no, like, shit, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, So, yeah, Eric, when you say SA, I know you mean Sundown Audio. But like, obviously Sundown has the SA series, and they would not do well in over 2 cubic feet. And I've experienced that, like a 12 Sundown SA or an SA Classic 12, or even the U series. They want to cap out at about 2 cubic feet, and they'll do really well down to 1.5. You might even be able to squeeze them a little under that. Like we've done the U series 12s in our 3.25 shorty box with really good success. Same with actually, as a matter of fact, we've even had X's in our 3.25 shorty box with very good success, even on kind of low power. So yeah, but so eventually I will probably build a 2.5-inch coil Neo motor, but before I do a Neo motor small enough for a true 8-inch woofer sub, I'm going to do a 5-inch. That's kind of the next one that's on deck. I'm gonna do a 5-inch coil for use with 18s and 21s, and maybe even 24-inch woofers. We'll do a Relentless Neo 5, and we'll do that in I might be able to do it with a 15 also, but probably not. Won't be able to do that with a 12. That'd be kind of silly. But we could definitely do a 15, 18, 21, and 24. We're gonna do a 21. And I could similarly design a 24-inch basket as well. My intent for that, because you won't sell a lot of those baskets, is so I don't want to pay $40,000 for tooling for a 21 or a 24 basket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to design a basket that gets cut out of flat stock steel and gets TIG welded together, and then we'll powder coat it. So I'll design that, make it a flat stock thing, and have Steve Mead cut the parts for us. And I'll design it in a way so that the parts kind of snap together like Legos. And then they, my guys, Colt and Gary, will TIG those suckers together, clean them up, we'll get them powder coated, and then we'll have something really trick for those mega basket woofers. So that should be a lot of fun. A good example, Corey, about a 5-inch on a 15 is my friend Jerry Eastman. His demo rig 916 build has NSA Sergeant Major motors, which are like 140 some odd pound 5-inch coil motors, and I had to like reverse engineer. The motors were engineered by our friend Ken Brown, and they are a beautiful motor. And when I studied the motor, because I had to design it in CAD, so as I'm taking measurements, I was like, shit, I'm gonna take Gauss field measurements and look at how the field is going to work on this thing. And I studied it pretty well, and I'm like, this is a fucking badass motor. And Jerry's rig is a fucking beast. It was built by my friend Brett Baldwin. He built the Enclosure with 8 Sergeant Major Motor 15s with all Gately Audio soft parts in there to make that thing pretty fucking amazing. And it is a rowdy build. It's a lot of fun. It's a beautiful truck. It drives real good. It's got air conditioning. It's sexy. We built some doors and pillars for it that are really beautiful, and it lights up. It's a really fun demo build. But yeah, 5-inch coil 15s. Our Gately 15 baskets have a landing that is 13.6 inches, so a reasonable enough space to have plenty of spider pack to have incredible excursion with that 5-inch coil in that 15 basket. So that was a lot of fun. Right on. What's up, Brody, man? How you guys doing? Being good? Get the wrong blue amps going on there, bud. We're gonna fix that someday. So, but yeah, what we got here? Let's take a look. Yeah. So yeah. Plan on being on for probably a little under an hour total today. So might wrap this up a little bit early. So yeah. Yeah. Anybody got any questions about anything? Oh, and then after we do the 5-inch coil Neo, then I'll probably do a 3-inch. And then but I have some of the design work on the 5-inch version of the Neo motor, and I already purchased, and I have it in my possessions over here by my foot, the Neo blocks that'll be for that. We're gonna have a taller Neo blocks for each of those, so it's gonna, in theory, be able to have an even taller field to help with control. So. Well, thank you so much, guys. I worked really hard to make those things really sexy, and they perform extremely well. Well, Shai, just let me know what your question is. Any question? This is what we're here for, is to help people learn things. What we do, like why we created the show was, we'd have these conversations where we would go on and discuss the what's and whys of how things work and what we're doing, and we would break down into words and definitions that make sense so that we understand things. So what's a 4th gen Ram? What are we talking about? Is that the one with the metal stuff under the back seat, or is that the brand new one with the 2019 Plus? What are we talking, Charles? So Jace, you might, and it's absolutely worth testing to shrink the chambers. Also, it's worth testing to share the chambers. And right, so I would shrink the chambers and see how it performs. And if you're gaining, you're cool, I've gained. And if you keep shrinking to the point of diminishing return, then you go, okay, that was a little too much. Let me go back. This was my favorite spot. And then you go, okay, I'm going to make some openings and share the chamber and see if that gains. And you might shrink it, or you might shrink it and then find the gain, and then you share it. And if you lose a little, try shrinking it a little bit more. That magical coupling thing that I've mentioned a couple times, you might gain some couplings, you gain some efficiency, so it might just gain a little, and you might try to shrink it again, and you'll find that that testing the shit out of everything. Hunter's fucking brilliant, and he will design you a really bitchin' box. But I'm like extremely confident that he would bet that if you started making adjustments to the chambers and the ports, you would find gains. That's for sure. But you just have to try not to make any more than one change at a time. I myself get like, I think this will help, and I might do that. And it's like, man, well, should also do that too. And you do that, and they're like, all right, what helped me gain, or why did I lose? Like, so only one change at a time, and it's time consuming. So make it an enjoyable process, and love the lessons that you're getting, Jace. I bet you could find some gains, and you might go, well, I gained at peak, but I lost a bunch everywhere else. So a good example is we talked about in episodes past, we talked about time aligning and phase aligning the subwoofers in a big build, right? So we started with the Soulgasm. We had 6 rows of 2 kind of staggered throughout the build, and it's a 6th order, so they share the chamber and the big port around the back. And when we really worked our ass off to phase align the woofers, we gained like 2/10 at a specific peak, but we lost as much as 2 dBs in the ultra low frequencies and about a dB at some of the higher frequencies. So we lost more than we gained, even though the overall highest peak was a little bit louder. But right? So you have to test it across bandwidth. That's an important piece of information, Jason. Unless you go, well, I'm trying to get numbers. You might be able to like set up a DSP that has different tunes, and you go, all right, this is my tune for when I do an SPL burp run, and it phase aligns my subs, and you know what I mean? Or yeah. So, and then when we built the guillotine, it's 3 rows of 3. We built them as separate chambers. When we phase aligned those 3, it was a similar result. Gained a little at peak, and we lost a bit more than what we gained. It wasn't as drastic as what happened in the Soulgasm, and then we went, okay, well, it doesn't seem like the phase alignment is a good idea in this build. So when we had it all apart again, we shared the chamber. We cut them all open, and I'm super confident. We did make a couple other changes at the same time because we were rebuilding subs, because we heard a couple of them. So we gained quite a bit, and I'm confident that it was more than what we had before we damaged the woofers. So I think they like when they share the chamber. We got a little bit of efficiency there. So let me see here. So Shai, with regards to doing the math, you reach a point where most of the box design software for me is like kind of useless. Like I have a really good idea of what's going to work, especially with woofers that I've already worked with. And when I'm not super confident, I'm just kind of confident, I'll send a message to Hunter Martin, and I've talked to Ray Pimley and Jose Ramos, who are pretty brilliant box engineer guys. I even talk about it with Steve and John, and in the past I used to speak with Drew a lot, and I wouldn't be against talking to Drew about it, because he has a lot of working knowledge, and I like to, and I obviously also have a lot of working knowledge, but I really love to go, hey, am I getting out in left field something weird? Somebody like, oh, hey, I did something just like that, and I had bad results. But so when I do much calculating now. It's just trying to accurately get the volume. A company like Sundown and a company like Kicker is going to collect so much data and test their products so much so that what they recommend is going to be better than just a good start. It's going to be like an extremely good start, and from there, I get to play with it to see if I can get it to gain a little bit in whatever application I'm working with. Like if it's in a truck box, or if it's like what I did with the Kicker Solo X12 boxes, where I did the coupling chamber coupling ports similar to what I did with the Camaro Perfect Fit box. And that is kind of me extrapolating technology that JL Audio developed with their HO boxes, where they made this kind of quasi sixth order, where the port is loading across the cone. It's a ported box, but it's got this kind of coupling chamber in front of the cone where the port is kind of wrapping and coming across the driver. And what we found with that when we tested that type of box is we gained a little bit of bandwidth and a little bit of efficiency, and it seemed to make things sound a little smoother. And I think the reason why we get smoothness is because that coupling chamber part where that port and the sub are loading becomes kind of a horn, which can kind of smooth things out a little bit. Somebody bought something. Ooh, it's a good one. Yes, and that's 4 Alpha 8s. Oh, it's 2 Relentless 8s. Very cool. Mugley, Oklahoma. Right on. Brian Visser, he's ordered a few things. What else did you get? Heck yes. So, anyway. So, yeah. What else? So, yeah, math, like there's box design software stuff, Shy. And if that's really fun for you to do all that kind of math and studying the box design stuff, Basebox Pro and Horn Resp is a good one. It's like Horn Recipe. That's probably the most elaborate box design software to play with, but I haven't done much with it. Most of the time when I'm kind of getting into something that I'm not 100% already experienced with, like all of my subs, I built so many boxes for, and we've tested them in so many ways that the box design software is not going to be much of an advantage for me unless I'm building something that's a kind of a weird application for them. It's a little bit like cheating for me when I'm building a fourth order for a Gately Audio Relentless 12, because I built a couple different ones for the Raiden truck. They ended up being the same volumes. The second one we built so that it was easier to service if we damaged a woofer, because Jim is incredibly aggressive with his volume levels and he breaks shit. So, and I got a bit of help with designing that box from Drew when I worked on it. And that thing performs extremely well. It's a fantastic box with crazy bandwidth and sounds beautiful. So when I did like the Slam Halen and when we did the Eruption truck, we're just kind of duplicating that same formula with making minor adjustments because it's less subs. So I added a little bit of volume because I don't have as much coupling, and slight changes to the port information based on how I expected the cabin to respond to the port. But and also just kind of simply fitting ports where they need to belong, right? Sometimes a limitation is going to have a limitation of space is going to have an effect on your box or your port area, and you have to work within that and do the best you can to get everything just right. So Charles, the older one, the 02 to 18 Dodge box, we have those in stock currently. They're available. We call those the Space Invader. We put 2 8s in those things and it performs extremely well. Crazy bandwidth. They sound beautiful. Shitloads of output. It actually uses that lower metal structure as a loading area, makes that box and the truck kind of perform like a series, or not a series, a parallel order. It is a ported box, but it is a down firing that loads into that area. It's not worthwhile to cut that metal area out. Put that box in, a couple of our Relentless or Alpha 8s, put a bunch of power on them, and you will be extremely happy. I fucking promise. What's up, Steve? How are you?
What's up? Sorry, phone died at work.
I can't hear you. Let me see. I gotta fuck with my audio. This is my nemesis.
Yeah, it's you. Usually get this figured out before we start.
There you go. Now I can hear you. We do this every week. I don't know why it does that. So,
Yeah, I don't know why either. Yeah, no, my phone died while I was at work, so I couldn't text you that I was going to be late. And then
it's all good.
Yeah.
Worked out. Yeah.
Where's Memphis? He wasn't able to make it.
He responded. He said, "Yeah, I'm slammed being back." Oh, I see. He meant, being back from the show. He's slammed with a ton of shit to do, and I guess that means he's not going to be on. What a poopy.
Maybe.
So, oh, good.
Hola.
Yeah. So,
Made
an
order
or something similar with multiple FS1 enclosure. I'm not sure what you mean by the multiple FS1, but I have definitely built a few 8th orders. I built an 8th order for Buddy Williams. Well, I designed an 8th order for Buddy Williams, and it was a little bit kind of like a shot in the dark. Drew is always open. Are you answering me? I can contact you about box stuff, bud. Is that cool? Is it okay if I call you bud? Or no? I know you're mad at me, dude. We're gonna have to talk sometime. We gotta get on a call. We can be bitching at each other on the internet. I just gotta talk. So, but the 8th order thing, I used Basebox Pro, and I designed a Series 6th order, and then I took the front chamber of that and I paired it onto the front end of a bass reflex 6th order that Hexabase Peter Kluke had designed for a couple of 12s, and I made a couple of slight changes to it based on the woofers that the box was designed for. There were some different woofers. I think they were Mofo. It was going to be Mofo 12s, the power acoustic, the kind of janky, but they're hella cheap and they worked okay. 12s. And then he ended up putting Jeff Vu, the JVF 3.2 12s in it later. And that actually performed extremely well. But the thing was crazy. It was a 212 box, but it was immense. It was massive. Like if you measured the outside of the enclosure, it ended up being like 14.2 cubic feet. It was like a, half of a refrigerator, right? It was gigantic, but it was a blow through in a Ford Ranger, and on 2,000 watts, he was doing pretty bitchin' hair tricks, and he was playing, into the low 20s with authority. It was a little sloppy sounding, but Buddy fucking loved it because it was wild and it was impressive, and it worked good. So, and then I did the Hexabase designed a pretty wild, and it had all kinds of horn loading of the ports inside, an 8th order for 215s, and that one, and it was 2 Audio Dynamics 3000 series 15s, and there's some pictures of me like climbing into the upper chamber of the box, and it had a bunch of crazy shit going on, and it was basically a parallel 6th order that had a loading chamber. So it was like a parallel 6 series to make it an 8th, and it was a rear window blow through. And I had that in my truck for a few months. And on like 2,000 watts, it sounded really beautiful. And it had a really very, very, like when we did some testing on it, if I played below like 28 hertz, like 28 was good. 27 was really falling on its face fast, and 26 was like you're gonna blow the subs up. So it just fucking fell on its fucking ass, which was fine. That's an appropriate frequency to die at, right, for a couple 15s. And then it tapered off pretty early in the 50s. It started sounding a little tonally funny, but from 28 to 50, it sounded fucking beautiful, and it was like very good output. But I felt like it would have been more output if it would have just been a 4th order through that range. But I don't know if it would have sounded quite as elegant. I don't know. It was a very elaborate box, and it was pretty fucking cool. But it was a fun experience. Those are my most recent 8th orders.
Let me ask you something. So some of these big sixth orders that we see now they have that big gap between like the front of the gap or baffle and the loading wall. It's kind of like take like Andrew showers.
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
so
that's a fourth order
that's
though.
a fourth. Okay, right. But
Right.
there's builds
There's
just
some
like that.
six that are kind of like that.
Right.
Ninjas is like that.
So that front section that's in between the sealed or the baffle and the actual front loading wall, could that almost be considered another loading section and that almost be an eighth order? Because that
Yeah.
column of air right there in that gap, it's going to be doing its own thing.
Yeah, it's going to pressurize different than the well. Now in Andrew's build, if Andrew's build, and it's not the greatest example. That one, it's a fourth of two. The distance from the cones to that area is the same as the cones to the roof of that build, actually. So that's why he built it that way. But I do know what you're talking about. Like Ninja's build, he has like the 2012s in there, and that like loading area is real close to that loading, and that thing is brutal. Ninja's build it, and I can only imagine what it's like when he has 20 10Ks in there, right? Because it had 10 salt 8s, and it was fucking badass. But he's putting like 20 ruthless 10Ks in there. I think that's what I heard. So, but but yeah, some of the drivers, right, and the whole thing has kind of an angle, but then there's a steeper angle here, and it loads into that like seat back. And I would say, I don't know if I could call that an eighth order.
I wouldn't say I call it.
If these subs are seeing more pressure,
there is something going on there for sure.
Yeah,
maybe it's a seventh order.
Right. Well, that's like those guys that had the 6.5 thing. Now I've seen twice where guys had a sixth order, and they were like, "I'm just gonna cut 2 fucking holes right here and stick 2 more subs in and see what happens." I had, remember, God, why can't I think of his name? He had the build that said demo whore, big as fuck on the side, and the silver Explorer. James Hayes from 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
And James is cool as fuck, man. I like that guy a lot. But he had other issues that weren't car audio. Car audio was his not an issue, but unfortunately, hopefully we'll see him someday. But James had 3 18s in a sixth, and one day he had 2 extra subs, and he had gotten them all reconed, and they were all very, very, very similar. And he just, he was like, "I'm gonna see what happens," and he just fucking cut 2 more holes and stuck them in there and wired his DC 9K to 1.875 ohms or 0.1875 ohms, and he gained like 1.8 1.9 dBs peak, and it didn't demo quite as well, but he gained almost 2 dBs on the meter, and he was competing quite a bit, and that worked out pretty well. He had to roll it in real careful, and then the amp would go under protect. The DC 9Ks, man, they're fucking warriors, right? Yeah. So yeah, and so he's like, it gained, but I also lost, but like, I'm gonna leave it that way because I don't feel like fucking changing it right now. But if I pop a sub, I'm just gonna plug the other 2 and I'm gonna just go back to 3, and then I'll probably. So,
what would you consider if
I probably wouldn't do that with my G65 or even my G8. They're great speakers, and I use them in like my van and in my truck, and I've done a little bit of SQ competition with both and done pretty well, but they're a little more designed for like these loud ass demo rigs, and they're durable enough to take a ridiculous amount of abuse, right? So, oh, sorry, Gracie dog. Oh. Just throw that grill on the floor. But the surrounds are rubber, and they're really more of a durable monster than they are an SQ driver. They're fucking great and they sound really, really, really good. But I wouldn't put one in an IB application. But I might be able to like hand build you using like our 6.5-inch subwoofer baskets and hand build you some little fucking badass IB 6.5s if you wanted to make something really special. I'm down to do that. I'm getting really, really good at building fucking subwoofers now. So,
Bobby, I want to ask you back to the box discussion. If you build a fourth order or a sealed section that goes into a ported section, or
okay.
and then out of the box, what is that?
Well, that's a fourth order, right?
It's still a fourth?
What am I misunderstanding you?
So basically take a fourth, a normal fourth, but put a ported section in the middle of that. From the sealed side, ported section.
Yeah, it's still a fourth. What?
It would be two ported sections in a way. So
it
would be firing into a section that's firing into another one that ports out.
That's still a fourth order.
It's still a fourth.
Yeah, it's still a fourth.
You ever done anything like that?
I've seen a bunch of shit like that. And I don't know, that's one of those things that like the Hexabase guy would be amazing to talk to about. And you know what, John Nolte probably would be pretty fantastic too. Both of them would probably give us big headaches. But it's kind of one of those like, well, what the fuck? Well, it's not just about counting orders for this one, right, Drew? It's I don't think you count another order because you're still only coming off of the front wave, right? But
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never seen anyone build anything like that. So
I've seen that shit. I've seen all kinds of weird little drawings of and like this is this, but I've also seen where people pick those things apart. They're like, there's no fucking fifth order and seventh order. And people used to talk about fifth order and seventh order in the 90s all the fucking time. And that doesn't really, you do add another order, John. So if you have a regular fourth order and then you have an extra ported chamber on the other side, I don't think you add an order to that, bud. Maybe you do. Fuck. So now I think you do.
So it would be a fifth order?
You just keep on adding fucking you're like, I got a ported chamber and a ported chamber and a ported chamber and a ported. But what do you do different to the port? Do you make it bigger? Do you make it smaller? What does it fucking do?
You'd be one to amplify the other. I'm sure there's a way to.
Yeah. If the port was bigger, right? If it was more port area and it was tuned higher, then it almost doesn't fucking count. It like doesn't exist then almost, I feel like.
I don't know.
I don't fucking know. But I'll tell you what it would be worth doing. It would be worth fucking testing. It's like another crossover. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
So it goes up in order. I guess, yeah. Okay. Yes. So it does. Does that make it a fifth? Is that how we end up with a fifth? John, Drew, talk to me, guys. I guess there's a few seconds of delay before they get us, right?
6 dB over 12 dB.
See, that's that shit where John starts talking about stuff that gives us a headache. Okay, cool. Right. So, hey, in the fucking 90s, guys would be like, oh, dude, fifth order, blah, blah, blah. I would even call. I remember the guy at Earthquake telling me, yeah, if it adds another order, you can't add two orders, right? Drew, John? Okay, so, John, do you want to jump on?
Yeah,
John
yes.
John will break down the crossover thing because he's been over this with me. I want to order a drink.
You know, the other thing that people,
a bottle of whiskey right here.
You know what people used to do? They used to build loading walls right in front of the subs, and that's where that term came from. And what we do now is technically not necessarily a loading wall, but I wonder if you built actual loading walls over the new age type of subs we use now, if it would do anything.
I remember seeing
more in front of the subs.
So in a car audio magazine, Do you remember in the 90s, the quarterback for the New England Patriots, his name was Drew Bledsoe, and he was a fucking basehead. And he went and bought a Porsche just to put a fucking crazy audio system in. And he had this shop put two of like the SPL 160s or SPL 170 15s, and he had two of the I think they called them Colossus, uh, the polished. No, they were the polished Soundstream
Okay.
5 channels. And he had two of those. And he had one, the sub channel running each of those, and everything was like full active as you could be before, before DSP, and it was fucking badass. And they had this component that because the subs were kind of unloading. They didn't say unloading, but my brain remembers what they were describing as, the subwoofers were struggling, with lack of back pressure when the top would be down. Even though it was a soft top, it's still pressurized a little bit. So they made this component that would like clip on and they would like fasten in place that was just a 1.5 inch thick piece of wood, which I think was MDF laminated together and structured. And it sat like 2 inches away from the surrounds of the woofers, and it covered about 80% of each driver.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and it was like with the top down, it was way better with that there, and with the top up, it was way better with it not there. And it was interesting. It said that in the article, talked about that specifically, and I thought that was super interesting. That was a detail that I remembered for 34 years, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing pictures of
Pioneer
loading walls.
Pioneer had the first what? Oh, the loading wall thing. Oh, I know which one you're talking. The one that burnt up mysteriously burnt up in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, the one I remember seeing, it was a lot of subs, and they were like maybe 8-inch wide strips, and they covered each row, and there was just like a strip of in front of each row of subs as their loading walls.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I
But
wonder what it'd be like if you're like, I just tried this, and you're like, holy shit. Like, I just made these stupid things and just bolt them into the baffle right over the top of your woofers, and it's just fucking, you just gain like crazy. You're like, that's badass.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of testing you can do. Like if you build a big ported box or something big that just it was really efficient, but it lost control. It's a lot of power, and then maybe you throw something like that on there, and it helps pressurize the cone in the front. I don't know, who knows, but not a whole lot of like screwing around with stuff like that anymore. It's
I mean, like when I was like in my early 20s and I was building speaker boxes in my garage at my house, like we'd be sitting on the couch and we'd start discussing silly shit like this, and I'd be like,
I just think it's a lot easier to get output now than it used to be. You used to like have to
well, we
search
didn't have any
for
power.
more.
You know what I
Now
mean? Like
it's
we didn't have electrical to say anything. You had a 1,000-watt amplifier and you were like, fucking woo, baby. Yeah. You won't gain by doing the other enclosure, only changing the Q by tightening it. Okay, so John has described these things that he calls Q filters. And imagine like you have this really stout, steel structure that goes around the basket of the sub, and it's got, a bunch of layers that are separated by little thin spacers to like tighten up the pressure around the basket to control it. It's almost like a
well, it's like when SPL guys built their sealed side super small and kind of make it shaped around the basket and sub.
yeah. Well, this would have
on the
thinking. So the more power you put to it, then the Q would go up because it's fighting that air. Where that's like kind of the opposite end of what those guys are doing, where they're cutting spokes out of there and they're drilling holes through them and all that shit to free that up. But then at the same time, they put them in the little itty bitty teeny tiny chambers as well, too, right? Isn't that crazy? So
I remember back in the day, Scott was thinking about doing some stuff for like Carlos and a couple of the competitors. They were going to machine pieces that fit in the TI baskets to close it all up, basically. Except
Shit,
for
if somebody wants a sealed basket, I will fucking design it and have Steve cut parts, and I'll weld that motherfucker up. If somebody wants to test it,
I'm sure you can make parts that go into your baskets for people doing SPL that want to fuck with
it'd be pretty easy for me to design that for like my baskets. I
For
could
sure.
just
You can even
I
make
could
it magnetic.
design little solid, 50% infill 4-wall loop, 3D printed little blocks, fucking glue in with that fucking jizz adhesive, fucking seal that motherfucker up. You throw it in your back seat and send it. What's up?
Yeah. Or like close half the holes up. You never know. I mean, it could help in high pressure situations.
You fucking take and you 3D print little badass pieces that glue in, and they got like a little hose barb, and you get fucking hoses, and you got a bunch of hoses. It looks like the fucking
like the Predator.
Kind of like from the Matrix, the fucking things that are chasing them down the fucking tunnel.
Yeah, the jellyfish thingies.
Yeah, the fucking fucking sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. Oh my god. What if that was amazing? You're like, oh, I made this thing. And it's like fucking. It looks like crazy exhaust manifold from like an Indy car from the fucking 70s or something. It's like.
I know what he's talking about. Like, when a charcoal grill has those slides so you can open the holes and close the holes.
Oh yeah.
You could do a ring that's built into the basket, and then it has like different settings. All the way closed, slightly open, a little bit all the way open.
God.
You might be onto something, dude.
Yeah, fuck. Maybe not. We might be on some fucking meth.
Adjustable baskets for your SPL pressure needs.
Yeah, shit.
Sounds like a lot of tooling costs.
A lot of
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Didn't Bazooka try to do a water-cooled sub one time?
I don't think they did water-cooled amps.
I know,
they
but
had
the
little jackets for that.
Sub, like, as like an addition to that whole series of shit. But I guess the amp thing actually did work.
Okay, cool. All right, bud. Yeah, water-cooled subs, huh? I knew they had the amps. They had the triangle subs, and those were not good. I think they could have been decent.
What do you think about taking the heat sinks on the amps and doing the like cooling on the fins on the sides? If you had a little thicker blocks,
John Nolte has fully engineered an entire water cooling system that will fasten to the 80-20 slots of my amplifiers. Like, he has it all fucking designed. We've talked about doing it. We were gonna machine it on my machine, and he was like, I'll machine it on mine. And then it's like we're fucking buried. And then by the time he was doing his build, he was like, I'm not having any heat issues. Fuck it.
But as far as like the Bazooka goes, is the way they did it was they just have holes through the
and they had threaded barbs. You had to make sure you sealed that shit up.
Yeah.
I think you would probably use like fucking mineral oil or something, right? That won't short out if it leaked.
Well, I don't think it had any potential to get inside the amp. I guess.
If there's water near an amp, it has potential to get in it, right? If the little barb leaked and got in your amp,
on the fittings,
you got a fucking problem. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, my.
I guess our shit does get hot enough to justify that, but nobody's really.
It wouldn't really be that it gets hot. It's that it heat cycles. So eventually, something would fucking loosen up and make a leak. So if you had something that, if we used, and I think it's mineral, that's what they use in computers.
But I mean, like, how much would it help? Do you think?
Oh, it would work really, really good.
Okay.
It would work super fucking good. Remember at Slam when the homie with the fucking Jeep was driving around giving people fucking demos, and he would get a wet towel and he would like just wipe his fucking amps, and it was like you would watch it, and you could fucking wipe the amp with the towel and feel it getting cooler. What was his name? He was giving fucking killer demos like all weekend.
I remember.
We gave him the fucking deadliest demo award. Him and Andrew got it that year. Right?
Oh, Roth.
Yeah, Roth. Yeah, that shit was fucking. I mean, that yeah.
Dude,
I think antifreeze is also conductive, John or Eric. Antifreeze would be conductive. The only reason why we'd want antifreeze was because we wouldn't want to freeze. But I suppose where you're at, all right, but I'll see you. I suppose where you're at, that would be something to be concerned of. But I guess mineral oil also doesn't freeze and it doesn't conduct. So
yeah, that would also work.
Dielectric fluid. You know what would probably work super good is jizz. Glycol.
Glycol?
What's a big difference of what? You guys make comments. You have to be kind of specific because it might get.
He was referring to that. It's like air cooling your car versus radiator.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've had talks with Dan Cantrell about the water cooled shit. There's a possibility we fuck with that with our.
Yeah. Will you unlock that for him so he can work? I know. Sorry, guys. Yeah.
Really, anything with a thick case on the sides, or anything with a thick case, but it definitely takes some. I don't know how they do that in the tooling process. You have to use aluminum that's already extruded that way, I guess.
Just have a vat of amplifiers. Like, this is my amplifier vat. It's fucking fluid just in there. You're just all you'll fucking dunk your arm in there and adjust your gain and shit. And it's sick.
Yeah, you just put a big aquarium in the back and put all your amps.
It's like, sick. You got a little water circulating thing in there, so it's fucking slurrying around, and you put a little bunch of pixie dust shit in there, so the lights, so it's like, yeah.
It's definitely doable.
What is conductive, John? Is glycol conductive? But dielectric.
Glycol is antifreeze, he said.
Cooling tank. It looked like a fucking reactor tank, like, yeah. Name the vehicle Chernobyl or something. You're like, that's a good fucking thing. You're like, yeah, I put my batteries in there.
Just
you're like, it was gonna weigh like 9,000 pounds, but it's like 13 now. I'm like, why? Well, the cooling tank, is like fucking bunch of C-Maxes just in there. There's just fucking water slushing around. Shit's all moving. Yeah, on servers and shit. Yeah, on like a big old big crazy mainframe fucking monster mega computer thing, like one of those like fucking $40 million Intel computers that's like as big as a room.
Yeah, mount them all in a 50-gallon drum.
I have that table, the amplifier display table. Just fucking build one just like that. It's just this fucking thing in the back standing up, a 55-gallon drum. You're like, what's that? It's my amp rack. Like, what? Instead of having like a window on it, you just get a camera in there and a fucking screen. There's lights in there. You can be like, that's what's in there. And you show people on your phone. There's my amps. Oh my god. I use a giant leaf to cool my amps off, like the people cooling. Yeah, just fucking
standing it all day.
When I was a little kid, in front of my house, instead of having a lawn, because we're in California, sometime along the way there was a drought, and we had this big ass lawn that the people that owned it before us, they replaced it with rocks, and there was like these different, it was like patterns of different color rocks, and it was like a big weird rock in the center, and it was kind of cool looking. But up near the house, we had this big ass tree, and it had those fucking leaves that are like this big, and they're like thick, and I fucking made a samurai sword with a hammer and an aluminum piece of the window screen. Like I broke that shit off my own house and ripped it apart, and then took a hammer and fucking pounded it on the concrete at first, and then I realized that I had an anvil in the garage, and I fucking pounded this thing because I saw like somebody making a sword in a movie, and so I was emulating that shit, and it fucking worked. I made it have an arc to it, and the last like 8 or 10 inches of it, I got to be fucking razor sharp. And I was out there fucking around like a samurai when I was like 7, and I cut all those fucking leaves off of that thing. My fucking dad was pissed. My mom thought it was funny, but my dad was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? You fucking ruined the whole plant." It grew back, and it was all giant. It got way fucking bigger, but it was super fucking funny. And I had those things, and I was like, I'm all sweaty. I'm all fanning myself. That's what think of that moment. You brought me back like 43 years to that moment. My dad was like, I remember looking at my dad looking at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, fuck would you do something like that? It's like, well, the reality was because it was fucking 8. So
can you imagine back then thinking in 40 years I'm going to be talking about this on a podcast?
Yeah, no, I had no idea that. Well, somebody was like, I cool my fucking amps with a big feather, and I'm all remember being all 8, like I was a fucking badass and all.
What do you think about that? Like that memory was buried somewhere. That memory was buried somewhere in your brain for 40 fucking years.
Yeah, like,
took a leaf. I'm talking about a leaf for that shit to pop out. Isn't that our fucking brains? Isn't this shit wild?
I've been like flashing back a little bit fucking lately. I mentioned, a month ago that I hurt my fucking knee, right? Remember I told you I tore my meniscus. Well, it'd been doing really, really good. I was feeling really good. I was flexing and stretching around, and I was doing some workouts and riding. I hadn't felt any discomfort. I had range, and I actually have a lot of that range now. But on Monday, I climbed into this customer's truck and was taking some measurements, and I was squatted down for, I don't know, 60 seconds. And I was like, dude, and when I went to get up, my knee locked up. And when it popped free, it made this big, horrific pop and a big fucking rip sound. And it hurt so fucking bad. I screamed like a little bitch. And I fucking laid down on the fucking floor of the truck. And I got all sweaty as fuck. And I was like holding my guts because it like made my stomach hurt. I was like, oh my God, fuck. And then I was like fucking heartbroken. I was like sad. I'm like, fuck, man, my stupid leg. I want to go train jujitsu, and it's gonna be fucking forever, and I'm probably gonna have to have surgery. And I was all bummed out, and I was like, well, shit. And I got back to my computer, I was getting work done. I was limping around everywhere, measuring things and dealing with all the shit, and I was like kind of feeling all bummed out and frustrated and a little overwhelmed with all the shit. It was like. And my brain like flashed to a moment where I felt a lot like that. And it was when I was like 21 years old, and I lived in an apartment with my buddy Steve, and I had worked my ass off for 3 days on this dude that I went to like elementary school and junior high and high school with. And this fucking guy ripped me off for like $250. And I was fucking pissed. And I'm like sitting there, and I was like out on bail, and I was like dealing with like, a case, and one of the things was I beat somebody up, and like I couldn't go beat this dude up like I would have been fucking having a problem, right? And so I was like, well, shit, man, I'm just kind of fucked. And I was all bummed, and I was like, man, if I could like pop into that living room as me right now and be like, hey, man, like, let me show you something. Let me show you a few things. This is your wife. This is your team of employees. These are all your best homies that you hang out with. And this is your business. This is what you do. This is Gately Audio. So you're going to be all right, dude. Just fucking. Yeah.
You never know.
You're going to be all right. I've been all, this is great. So, maybe I think about that fucking Monday evening when I was like, oh man, I'm fucking trying to design shit. I'm all sad and my knee is fucked up and I'm fucking blah. But yeah, little
How's it now?
flashback moment.
Is it good now or still
My
fucked
knee?
up?
I mean, it feels fine, but I'm confident that if I
Go hard.
I don't know what. Yeah, you know what I mean? I don't know what makes it get stuck, but I sure as fuck don't want to do that because that hurt real bad. And it felt like I damaged things. Now I feel fine. It feels fine. I can fucking run. I could do things. But oh yeah, I wasn't crying like pain. I was like crying like, oh man, I'm going to have surgery and it's gonna be that much longer until I can train jujitsu. And being fucking 50, man, it fucking sucks. What Saturday are you talking about? I have an event that I'm going to this Saturday, Sunday. So, yeah. But I fucking stretch like crazy, Shy. I'm actually kind of very flexible in a lot of ways. Like I could touch the sole of my foot on my fucking face normally. Like I could chew my own toenails if I need to, but I for sure couldn't do that with my left leg because that was like the motion that tore my knee when I was training. It was a big ass white belt dude I was rolling with, and it was shitty. So runs on a treadmill. Fucking run on a treadmill. I do go to yoga before work. I ride a Peloton bike. I don't run on a Peloton, but I did do yoga a lot. Yeah. You go to my OnlyFeed page and you put down a few $100. I'll send you a video of me chewing my toenails.
Sadly,
where the fuck is Loma Rica? Sounds like not very close to me. Same shit. Oh, yeah. No, I'll be at a different kind of event with some friends that I'm obligated to fucking 6 months ago. So I won't be doing any events this weekend. I will be working my ass off as much as I can. What I did do on fucking Sunday though is I went to Metallica, and that was fucking rad. They played a fucking killer. So did Pantera. Pantera was fucking awesome. It was a really great fucking. That was probably the best concert I've ever been to, and I've been to a lot of fucking concerts, so it was a really good time. I think I have a torn meniscus. Pretty confident I'm going to get MRI hopefully soon. They called me about scheduling it, and they asked me questions, and I had to tell them a little bit about the surgery I had on my head 38 fucking years ago, and they were like, we might not be able to do it. I'm like, oh, fucking what? Like I've had numerous fucking MRIs since I was 12. Yeah. That's weird. It's got like a notification, but I don't see. Oh, yeah. 421 build. Cool. All right. Well.
So one thing I just popped in my head is the showdown dates are, I'd say they're set now. So it's the week after, March 7th and 8th.
Okay.
So
the week before my birthday.
Yeah, not going to interfere with possible Autorama. Like I was thinking maybe April. So.
Well, it should be May again. They were saying they were going to try to have it be in May again. So.
Yeah, I think this gives us, a month and a half between our shows, almost 2 months. I think it's better than having them like less than a month apart. They would literally be like 2.5 weeks apart, and that's it's tough to get people to commit to two, good sized shows that close together. So I think we're good. Whatever, I got to take a little extra time off work, but it's fine. I'm just going to charge $10 more for the cars. It'll make up for my loss of work.
Okay. Yeah. So you can request the work off and it's not a problem.
Yeah. I mean, if I get, 100 cars come through there and I make $10 more off each one, that basically covers A good portion of the weekend or the 4 or 5 days I got to take off, so no big deal.
Have you been playing much golf?
A little bit. I played yesterday. I've got a tournament coming up in less than a month, so I'm trying to get ready for it. I've just been working so much that I have not played at all. But I played yesterday and I played good, so it's still there. Just got to not think too much.
Yeah, is that the thing?
Yeah, pretty much. Not think too much, not swing too.
That's one of those things where if you play a whole bunch, you'll probably think less.
Yeah, it's like that's how you become good. Is once it becomes, like when you eat. So there's a book I read, and it actually works really well for anything, not just golf. It's called Zen Golf. And one thing that stood out to me, I read this forever ago, is like when you learn to eat, right? And you know this from when you're 4 years old on or whatever, and you're grabbing food with a fork and you're putting it in your mouth. But every time you're doing that, you're not like fork, carrot, mouth. You're not thinking about this operation. It's just doing it, and you're never missing your mouth.
You don't do that? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And then you don't think about putting the food in your mouth, but as soon as you think about doing the process you're doing, it makes it actually way more difficult. You don't think about ever missing your mouth with the food, and you never do. So you try to make things as automatic, or what you really do is you practice enough to where it becomes second nature, and then you're not thinking about it anymore. It's just like anything.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You get so good that you're not even thinking. You're not like that club. Your body just looks and grabs the fucking club, and you walk over and you fucking. There's not even words going in your head. You're just fucking.
It's just like jujitsu. Like there's moves, and you're repetitive. You're practicing these moves, but then when you get in the situation, you already know you're there. You've been in this situation before because you've practiced it, and then you just know what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, your body just goes. You're not even thinking, oh, grab that grip there. You just fucking go boom, boom, boom. No, you're like, oh, cool, I'm in control now. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you try to I don't know, you just got to get your brain out of the way. Once you get so good at something, your brain needs to get out of the way. Yeah,
that's fucking nice.
Yeah. But hopefully, I play well. I do want to win this tournament, so we'll see. Yeah. Can I get Casey?
If I would have built your doors, and said they're not going to rip, then yeah.
Well, shit. I know you're busy. You said you wanted to keep it to an hour.
I know, but I'm having fun. I'm gonna probably burn out of here and go home and get some dinner and try to get to bed super early. When we went to Metallica, I had gotten up hella early on Sunday. Came here, built a bunch of subs for the Raiden truck, and then fucking burned out of here at like 1:45. Got home, got cleaned up, got in the fucking Tesla, drove all the way down to Santa Clara, charged, got some food, got to the event, and then fucking I didn't drink or anything because we were just chilling. I knew I was going to drive home. We're driving home. We're pulling up to the house like fucking 2:30 a.m. and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so fucking tired. We go inside and I go to sleep and get up Monday morning and was just struggling. You know what I mean? So that was part of the being bummed out. I was exhausted and I hurt my fucking leg and I'm trying to get a fucking ridiculous amount of shit done. I mean, I'm like,
how was the show? Were they good?
They were fantastic, dude. It was fucking amazing. They sound so fucking good. And we showed up and Pantera was playing and we go in and I'm all, fuck, they sound great, and then we go in and man, Pantera played a fucking big set. They played a lot of fucking songs. They were jamming and they sounded fucking great. I was like, dude, that is fucking good. And then Metallica came on and as good as ever, man. They sounded fucking really, really good. I was like, this is fucking awesome.
That's dope.
Yeah, the first concert I ever went to was Metallica. It was Day on the Green when I was 13 years old. So full fucking circle all the way back, right? So
yeah,
pretty bitchin'. It was a really good time.
I've never heard them in concert or seen them in concert. Yeah, whatever you want to say, it is. I need to get to a show. I haven't been to a show in a minute.
So Justin, Allie bought the tickets fucking like a long ass time ago, and she didn't tell me how much she paid for them. But when we got there and sat down, I was like, "How much you pay for these tickets?" She was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, God." Like, I don't know what I paid, but I'm guessing it was probably $1,000 or $1,200 for both of them or something, which isn't horrible, but like. I would have been. See, here's the thing: is like when I was young, I would want to be on the floor because I'd want to be in the mosh. They had big ass mosh pits for both Pantera and a little bit for Metallica, but for Pantera they had big ass pits going that were pretty cool. But it was mostly just old dudes running around. But I would have wanted to be on the floor because that wouldn't be the pit. But like for me to be on the floor at a show sucks ass because I'm 5'4", so I'd be like staring at somebody's shoulder blade. Like, sick, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, fucking cool. Hey man, can I get on your shoulders, bro? Like, so yeah. No, I wasn't on the floor right there at point blank of the fucking guys. I don't need to fucking high five the guys. I just need to fucking be there and rock out to the music. I don't really do the I want to fucking touch that dude real bad thing. Unless it's Steve or Memphis or Andy or Byron or anybody with a bigger dick than me. Oh God. All right. Well shit.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm gonna get my ass the fuck out of here. I spent the first like 20 minutes or so before you got on. I was talking about little subs. We talked about the new Sundown, the Z8, because I've had several emails and a couple calls. People like, hey, I want to get a fucking thing in the bow. Let's go. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's make something cool. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I saw Jake's post about that. Is that just like a it's something he hasn't released yet? It's a new.
I think it's released. I think it's available to order. I based on how many people are asking us for it. Like, I mean, we probably get in the last week and a half, we've probably got a dozen or so emails, which is a decent amount of shit. So,
nice.
We'll probably make a little Z8 specific, build a little batch of them, and then maybe it might become something that's offered on the site as a custom order only. But if the file is set up and it's reasonable to do, we can usually get something built and shipped in less than a week. So we have a whole series of boxes like the JL W6, the 10W6 and the 12W6 single and double boxes that we make. Those are like custom order only, and we have them and they sell every once in a while, and we just cut them and build them and get them shipped within 5 or 10 business days, and that works out pretty well. So I think we're going to transition to like a lot of the brand specific, the kicker ones, the JL ones. Those will probably all become that, and then that'll open it up for us to be able to offer more of those kind of things that are only built to order. And then I want to do brand specific for Sky High, and I think he wants to stock them, which would be fucking great. So, yeah. So, yeah.
Cool.
All right, kids. I appreciate you guys all, and look forward to seeing you guys next week. Maybe we can drag John on with us next week. I think that'll be kind of fun, and we should have Ray Pimley on to talk about some events soon as well. Yeah, I think that'd be a really good idea. So
cool. Sounds good. All right, buddy.
All right, kids. You guys be good. Have a great night. Fix your engine noise. Be nice to people. Fucking if Drew's still watching, give me a call, man. We need to talk. All right. See you guys.
Later.